What's poppin', man? It's Audio Al, and you're listening to Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix, right here on YouTube, Spotify, or any of your favorite streaming apps.
Thank you, Audio Al. It is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023, 7:35 p.m. sharp. This is podcast number 175, and I will say hello, everybody, and welcome to that podcast. It is the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of the lovely hosts, the Garlic Johnson. We are joined, as always, by our other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, say hi to the folks out there.
Hi, folks.
Oh, the enthusiasm. We've switched. I think you and I have swapped places from Saturday to today. We appreciate people that chat along with us in the Discord. Right now, I can see, besides Josh and I see Micah, I see Walt, I see Al. We appreciate people who continue to hit the Discord all the live long day. Segment start times down in the description below for you listeners that like to jump around. Thank you at Levi Oki Illustration for all the beautiful art. Josh, hi ye darn.
I is Darren. Okay, all things considered.
Whoa. All things considered. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah. Well, football was rough from a fan perspective and a fantasy perspective. So that stinks. Overall, yeah, I guess it's Tuesday, my guy.
Oh,
How are
Josh,
you, Gar?
you sound so downtrodden, and you're genuinely making me a little. Like, don't feel bad about it. But you're making me a little bit sad. I'm feeling a little sad osmosis. Hopefully, I can take some of the burden on for you. I'm doing okay. Doing better than I was Saturday morning for sure. But yeah, I think you're right in that Vikings. You're in that old Vikings territory where the team would give you just enough hope just to let you down. You're not used to the Packers being in this middle ground territory where one week they're beating the best team in the league, and the next week they're losing to one of the worst. It's tough out there. But, I think there's enough promise in Jordan Love for you not to have lost complete faith. But as soon as Kirk went down, I knew the Viking season was lost. So I am carrying no burden of sadness from what the Vikings did. Easily could have beat the Bengals, easily didn't. So it is what it is. But I know what you're talking about. I'm also sad about losing to Allen. Deflate these balls, dude. We'll talk about it in a bit. But some of those close playoff losses where all you can do is blame yourself. You see all the points you needed right there on your bench and then some. It's like, fuck me. Any new shows or anything cool in the personal life between Saturday and today, Josh? Any fun tidbits with the wife or kid?
Well, we started watching Reacher season 2. It's a great show.
Okay.
I watched Lightyear for the 400,000th time this evening with Asher.
And how was it? How's it hold up?
It holds up. It's still Socks is still kind of the best.
That's the cat, right?
Yeah, because he's calibrating the configurators and meow 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 meow, and it gets me every time.
Does that cat own NASA, dude? Does that cat own space?
Well, if you rearrange the letters of Socks, you do get NASA. So,
right.
And that's coming from a second place spelling bee champ.
No big deal.
Yeah, how are you, Gar? Anything new happened between Saturday and today?
Nothing new between Saturday and today. The Ranch on Sunday the Ranch had a bunch of his buddies over watching the game, and their stream, or I guess we have cable, but their program was obviously a good 10 seconds ahead of mine, so I could hear everything before it happened, which was almost an enjoyable way to watch the game, because I didn't have to sit right next to him and sit there and roll my eyes at my dad for like some of the takes I don't always agree with, but just to hear the yells and the cheers before it happened was a pretty interesting way to watch football. So that gave me a nice little pep in my step on Sunday. And then I had some Chipotle. And then me, Carmen, Walters have been rocking. You were in there too, even. We've been rocking that Zombies on COD. So I always enjoy when the boys are back on the sticks together, just spending time together.
Yeah, I had to force my way in since I don't get invited to play dates because chillin'. As in CHILLUN, a child, for those of you non-Southers. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Obviously, I told you that I'd slept most of my weekend, so that was fun. Didn't get sick, which was great, but still kind of weird to go to bed at 7:00 on a Saturday night. Felt like an old person.
I don't know how to tell you this, Josh, but you are an old person.
I know. Yeah, so I guess moving on, I didn't do a rhyming wrap up,
Josh.
but I figured we're in that playoff push here for a lot of teams, regular league, and then we're in the playoffs for the fantasy leagues. And so I figured, since the NFL is getting softer than microwave baby food, I'm
Gross.
just going to go ahead and say that I'm going to ask you some hard hitters. I'm going to give you some hard hitters.
All right.
And so I was thinking today as I was doing dishes, yes, dishes.
Dishes.
Yep. What as a Minnesota fan, what would it take for you to no longer support the Vikings?
Ooh, I mean, I think I could get over, obviously it'd be some sort of scandal, right? Because I don't think unless it's like poor performance for 20 years straight. And even then, I've already now allowed myself to be, bandwagon fans of other teams. Like I guess I'm not a bandwagon with the Chargers. I feel pretty hardcore Chargers at this point. But I'm bandwagoning right now the Dolphins and the Lions. So I'm living vicariously through them. So that can put less pressure on the Vikings. But to answer your question directly, it would have to be some sort of organization-wide scandal from the Wilfs, right? Like if the Wilfs were doing something absolutely terrible, which they're billionaires, there's a good chance they either have or they are currently doing something absolutely terrible and exploiting people or exploiting a resource or something. But it would have to be something like that. Something that is so the same reason we don't mention Southern Miss anymore. Just a pretty disgusting scandal, which with time everyone will kind of forget about it and move on. I came around on John Gruden just a bit in Discord the other night when I was watching Monday Night. I was like, this is just not the same without a Gruden's grinder. But so yeah, to answer the question, it would have to be some sort of disgusting scandal from the Wilfs, because anyone who works for him that's below the Wilfs, like Kwesi or any of the players or KOC, they can always get fired. That's not a reflection of the organization necessarily. So it would have to be something really gross with the owners, and then once the team gets sold, assuming it would due to public pressure, I'd hop right back on. So it would take to say it would be temporary. It would never be full flown gone fandom forever.
No, I mean, even if they discovered that the Bank Stadium was just a huge cover and beneath it is an Al-Qaeda base used to exploit child labor. If that were to come out and all the Vikings players knew about it.
I mean, Josh, first of all, Al-Qaeda is so 2000 and late. ISIS is all the rage these days. I know ISIS is probably already a good 5 years old, maybe 8 years old at this point. But no, again, the organization, the team, the Vikings, is bigger than any one individual or even a small group of individuals, right? It's had many owners, many coaches, many GMs. The team itself, the symbol Viking, is way bigger than individuals, so it would take a lot. Obviously, I'm not saying I support child slave labor.
What if they were to move?
If they were to move and remain, I mean, they wouldn't be the Minnesota team anymore, so that would be a different situation for sure. It depends on do they do the Cleveland thing where Minnesota itself retains all the rights to the Vikings and they could get another Vikings in the future, or is it they change their name and mascot and everything in the new city, or or do they become the fucking Saskatchewan Vikings? I don't know, dude. Don't put these thoughts in my head. What are you talking about right now?
Well, I'm just thinking. It's just it's like I said, when I was doing dishes, that's when I do my deep thinks. And this is a hard-hitting question. I think back to the Deshaun Watson situation, not Vikings, Browns fans hopping off the ship saying that this is the last straw. Obviously, they've had a long history of just mismanagement and, bad things. And then Chargers, when they went from San Diego to LA, which I think it's funny because I did see a San Diego Chargers graphic on ESPN one day during the game, which was kind of funny because that was 8 years ago. And then so I'm just thinking okay, so that got people to jump off because ineptitude for multiple years, moving cities, and now this is kind of spent a little bit of time on that, but we don't have a whole lot to talk about since we're just in the playoffs and we're not doing the Hogs. And so what about switching allegiances? I know you said you're bandwagon a bunch of teams, but let's just say the Minnesota Vikings are just the ho-hum Minnesota Vikings. And this, I'm not even going to get into the whole as a Norwegian, Swedish, American, I'm deeply offended by the Minnesota Vikings using my likeness as a character. And so it is time to start that movement. And so if we can get it to change a flag in Minnesota, we can get it to change a team name. And so
Josh is getting more radicalized by the minute. No,
you didn't see the size of my tinfoil hat.
I mean,
but
no, I do want to cut you off just for a second.
Another organization. Yep.
I want to cut you off just for a second to go back to the Vikings, and then we can move on to another organization. But I think just to the Deshaun Watson situation, because that's an interesting thing I didn't consider instantly. Like, that is something I don't think anything would change of my behavior. But if I had more of a financial stake in the game, like if I was a season ticket holder, or if I went to games a lot, or if I supported the team financially a lot, I think I would probably have pulled back on that. But since I do absolutely nothing financially to support the Vikings right now, all the jerseys I buy are from some China knockoff whatever.
Underneath U.S. Bank Stadium.
Maybe. Why am I paying so much for shipping? But no. So, like, if in that Deshaun Watson situation, I think I'd probably still watch the games if I'm being 100% honest with myself, but I would take my financial stake away, at least for a time, to show disapproval, because that's how these billionaires speak, right? It's all about dollars. That's your vote. So I just wanted to get that in there. But what about another organization?
Like, if the Vikings were to stay put and everything, is there something that, like, a team could do to get you to, like, cheer for them more? Like, say, to hell with home team or home field, whatever you want to call it, fandom. This is my new team, and it will always be my team.
I mean, just like Dr. Ford in Westworld taught us, it's all about a good story. And me personally, I love a good story. That's why I'm so entrenched with Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell, the person, is electric. Obviously, we goof on him for the nod at kneecaps and all this and that, but I just think Dan Campbell's a very genuine man. And genuinity is something I absolutely adore in people, especially public people that, don't need to be that way or have a million reasons not to be that way. And they had Hard Knocks, so that really helped the story. Mike Daniels, I think, is a cool story. If you're familiar with his story, in and out of coaching, recovered alcoholic, or I don't know if it's alcoholic or substance abuser, but recovered something. Got kicked out of the league and then crawled his way back in. Now he's a head coach. Like, I fall in love with people, and I fall in love with their story. So it would be really hard pressed for me to get drawn away from the Vikings, but I can definitely, I feel like I have enough room in my heart to love multiple teams at once. That's why I love the Lions and the Dolphins and the Chargers so much. So I don't think anything could pull me away for good, but if it would be like an absolute banger of a story, an absolute banger of an individual, something like that,
All right. Yeah, to give my quick hitters on that, if for me to kind of just lose all hope in supporting the Green Bay Packers, it would take a scandal and, like you said, kind of a big thing. I'm thinking, and since it is a publicly owned team, it's not one of those things where it's, it can be sold to a new owner. Or I guess it could be technically sold to an owner. Or it could be bought by an owner, but I doubt that'll ever happen. So to me, it would be like if whoever's in charge of making things happen decides, you know what, we're going to use Jerry Sandusky and Jared Fogle to tell our comeback story. And those are going to be the new faces of our franchise. Something like that, where it's just two names that just are synonymous with absolute disasters and disgusting acts. I'd probably just say, you know what, peace out. On the flip side, now, if Minnesota were to take my advice and stray away from the Viking, disrespect for Norwegian, Sweden Americans, then I would say that if they were to change their name to the Minnesota Laser Loons, and they had a red jersey with loons shooting lasers out of their eyes, that would get me to become a Minnesota football fan. So those are my kind of quicks on that.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you your input. I appreciate you. I assume the questions came from somewhere, so I was interested to hear your take. But we did spend...
Actually, it really just came from what your next segment is going to start off with.
Okay. All right. Well, Josh, with that, we spent a good 10 minutes on that, but like you said, we're not doing the Remming wrap-up, we're not doing the hog market, so you know what? It's our show. We can do whatever the fuck we want. We don't really even ask for fan interaction anymore, so we appreciate it when we get it. This is our show, baby, and we're not financially tied to anyone anymore. I think Walters may have given me $20 earlier in the year. I don't remember, but we don't have the big year-long sponsorship from Brian anymore. We get to do whatever the fuck we want. We are not corporate shills any longer.
Oh, I quit.
We'll move on to the fire in your gut, Josh. I'm not going to play the deal because that would take 15 more seconds than we have when I need Josh to remain in his seat. But Josh, I just have one question for you.
Do you have fire in your gut?
Woo! That's enough, baby.
better light the fire pretty fast.
Sounds like Josh had already lit that fire. All right, Josh, I have fired my gut for a couple different reasons, and they're both the same reason. We'll start with the negative because I see what angle you were coming from earlier. We're talking about the new Minnesota state flag. The negative fired my gut is that people have to. Everything is so radicalized these days. Everything's so polarized, and I can be as political as they come. Don't get me wrong. But like the old flag stunk. Like we don't need to sit here and complain about it. No one liked the old flag. Okay, no one could. I would guarantee most people couldn't even describe the old flag as a flag. It stunk. Experts said it was one of the worst flags in the Union, and it had been the same for almost 150 years. It stunk. Okay, we needed something new. So we don't have to make it all this and that. Just for reference, the original seal, and then the seal was on the flag, is it showed a pioneer/farmer tilling the Minnesota land, and there was an American Indian on horseback riding away, so it showed the plight of how the European settlers set up a government and pushed the Indians away. That was the gist of it, so that's why eventually they turned it, the Indian, like literally just made the horse change direction, so it looked like it was a more racial coexistence scenario, but that was the scenario. That's why some people said let's just change the flag completely. But Josh, we're not going to talk about that bullshit because I got some good fire in my gut as well. I think this new flag is a banger. It's very simplistic, but it's got the North Star. It's got the shape of Minnesota. It's got two beautiful shades of blue. It's got a beautiful inverted triangle, the baby blue, the light blue, the land of lakes, the Mississippi River. All the things that made people come to Minnesota in the first place is the water. It was approved out of the commission by 11 out of 12 people. It was endorsed by, so obviously, Josh, we've talked about it before, the fans, or not the fans, but the community, the citizens of the world could submit their own flag designs, and this one is fully endorsed by the design it's inspired by. So there's no reason anyone should not like this flag. I think the star is going to be put on a lot of hats. The flag looks good vertically. It looks good horizontally, flying on a pole as a flag does. I think the flag looks fucking sweet, and so that gives me, I'll give myself an extra, because I'm excited. For people that don't know, I do kind of like flags, and I had bought a different alternative Minnesota state flag called the North Star flag, which was designed by a reverend in like the 2000s, because our state flag stunk, and I hung that in my apartment when I lived in Detroit Lake. So I'm plugged in. I'm the senior flag correspondent. Josh, do you have any comments on the flag itself, or do you have any fire in your gut?
No specific fire in my gut. I am trying to find the ranking according to one website that I'm looking at, and they don't even have the Minnesota state flag, which is kind of funny.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Because, yeah. But anyways, I guess I don't see, I agree. I mean, they're over radicalizing everything. Who cares? Yeah, it is supposed to be a representation of the state, I guess. And so they decided that they didn't want to be associated with, I don't know, just the cluster of farming. They're taking away farmers. They're saying that Minnesota isn't about farming anymore, and that's disrespect for the farmers. Yeah. Then they decided, what, we're whitewashing this. There's no such thing as Indians anymore.
That's, again, exactly what they're doing. You got it.
Yep. No, I guess, I don't know. I think that of the 970 some pages of flag submissions, they went with the one that just, to me, does nothing. Like the state colors a few years ago, the state revamped all their like state programming and stuff, and the colors are like green to signify the forests that we have, and then the kind of like a navy royal blue for the water. And so they decided to go with like snow cone blue and white. To me, it's just like, why not just
snow cone blue is a great descriptor. I love that.
Just keep it, the kind of the same color scheme. So then that's kind of a knock on it. And I had said in the Snapchat, the star that is they're smack dab in the middle of the United States, looks like a butthole. That's all it's going to be.
It is Sphinxter-like, without question.
And so to me, it's just like opening up the door to get us made fun of. So the dark blue on there is kind of what the blue for the state of Minnesota is, but then like the water blue, whatever, I guess. And if you want to go into it, you could turn it on its side so it's, I guess, vertical, and then it just looks like the silhouette of legs bending over. And so it's just like, you know what, Minnesota, get your act together. This is just a silly flag. Laser Lewin would have been so much better.
Here, Josh, check the Discord chat. See if I can change your mind. Let me know if that changes your inspiration. Just take a little peek, Ski. Have I converted you?
I'm kind of scared.
Let's open the chat real quick. So we got you? Are you a supporter now?
No.
Oh, I thought I had
I'm
you.
a little bit more of a supporter, but the lasers in the original one were blue, or were not blue. They were red.
That's true.
So, to me, it's just whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
But
so I don't know.
No personal fire in your gut?
Nope.
All right. We will move on, Josh, to our favorite senior trash correspondent. We are, of course, talking about our main man, Forky. Josh, do you have any questions for Forky today?
Forky, I'm in a bit of a predicament here. I have to start going to a support group for losers in fantasy. I know the opening word is hi, but how should I introduce myself? Hi.
I'm trash.
Excellent idea, Forky. I have a question. What did the Packers look like while getting thrashed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Trash?
Yep. With that question inflection, I like it. What did Josh Dobbs say to cheer up Mullins after that loss in overtime?
You're just like me. Trash.
Thank you, Forky.
Forky gets wiser and wiser every week, I swear to God.
Thrashed.
It
was a 7-point game until our defense decided to be like, hey, remember how bad we are? Let's keep being that bad.
What's the scoreboard say, Josh? 34-20? That's a 14-point game to me. But I know what you're talking about. Sometimes box scores can be deceiving. Games are way closer than they appear. I totally understand. All right, Josh, we will move on here to our weekly recap. And Josh, you alluded to it in the Forky Trash segment. How salty are you coming out of the first week of the playoffs?
So coming out of the afternoon games on Sunday, I was extremely salty, as the Discord would be able to tell you. Just because of the Hidden Oaks redraft, I go in projected to win by like 40 into the weekend. And then after the noon games, I'm projected to lose by like 10 or 20. Tyreek not playing, Pacheco not playing, Ramondre Stevenson not playing. And then just a couple clunkers. I think my highest scoring player was the Raiders defense on Thursday night. And so that was kind of like opening it up. That was the peak of the weekend. And so if my peak is Thursday, it all goes downhill after that, and so then it's like, okay, so Keaton Mitchell got hurt in the game. He didn't come back. So it's like, it stunk. Yes. But at the same time, can't have less than 10 points from every player on my roster except for Keaton Mitchell, the guy who is on the IR now, and Jake Ferguson. And so Garrett put up 151 against my 96. I was the only playoff team that didn't get over 100, so I should get some sort of award.
Derek got like 77.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he was in the playoffs.
He got absolutely beat to a pulp by your wife.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so my team didn't show up, and obviously, not having Tyreek doesn't make me feel good about it. But at the same time, he would not have helped my lineup. There's no way he's putting up 50. Garrett's team just went all out. Browning, Mixon, and Addison kind of started it off for the Sunday or the Saturday games, and then McLaurin put up 30. Njoku put up 20, or Lauren put up 26, and Njoku put up 26. So yeah, his team just stomped mine. So that got rid of a little bit of the salt when I saw the final scores and what it was shaking up to be. I did beat Glick in the Victoria's Secret League, so Derrick Henry did not come back to bite me. So Walters, you get to live another day. And then I lost in Deflate These Balls because CJ Stroud was hurt, and I had to play Zeke in my super spot, and he didn't do much, but tried to keep it close. Otherwise, I had buys in 3 other leagues.
Right. So you're in 6 leagues. 3 of them you had the bye. Of the 3 games you played, you went 1 and 2. But you still have 4 games coming up, so you still have plenty of opportunities. Do you want to call your shot of the 4 games? How many championships do you think you make, or are you just not that kind of guy?
I'm not that kind of guy. 4. Come on now.
I love it.
No, it's gonna be 0.
Oh, Josh,
that's
come
just
on.
how
You can't reverse psychology your
I'm,
way into fucking championships now.
Well, yeah, you're right, but it's. I mean, I'm not gonna beat Derek in the Dynasty League. I'm not gonna beat Jack in the Deflate These Balls League because just the horseshoes that he can lodge up his rectum. And then the Champs Branch Out League, I've been coasting with just an absolute, if CMC doesn't put up 40, my team's going to lose. That's just kind of how it goes. So, yeah.
All right, Josh, moving on to me, the main attraction of the show. I made the playoffs in 7 leagues. I had 3 buys, so I had 4 games this week. Of those 4 games, I went 2 and 2. One of the leagues, the Hidden Oaks Dynasty League, I had no hope of winning. I barely limped in as the 6th seed. I think I might have had a negative record. Had no faith in that one. Losing in the Deflate These Balls League, that one was tough. Had Noah Brown on the bench with like 16. I had played Odell Beckham instead. He got like 1. I lost to Al by like 3 or 4 points. Gonna have a month of shame about that one. It's just tough. I'd rather lose by a lot. Like, I'd much rather get blown out like you did to Garrett. Not to put salt in the wound, but just like that losing situation to me is much more swallowable than losing by just a couple points. So it's tough. But I'll get over it eventually. I've taken plenty of losses in my day. But yeah, so I'll have 5 if I can maintain that ratio. Even if I could just win 2 games next week, 2 of my 5 games, make it to 2 championships, I'll be happy. If I could just go split down the middle, having 7 playoff teams make it to 2 championships, I'd be pretty happy with that. Of course, I could lose all 5 games. Who's to say? But it would be really nice to make a championship or 2. I also made it to the final 3 in the Guillotine League, so I'm guaranteed to walk away with some money there. So I think I'll recoup my funds for the season. I think it'll be pretty easy at this point, but God, I would really love to make a couple ships and win at least one. I'd like to win 1 ship this year out of any of my leagues. That'd be nice. But time will tell. Josh, how about that FanDuel?
Oh, yeah. I just thought we'd quit. Top 3 weekly totals this week. We've got Walters, who, as Walters does...
Walters?
Yep. He put up 156.42, but he also pointed out that, his amazing performance, with just 2 more points, he would have beat someone's top score. So thank you, Walters, for that tidbit of information.
Hard-hitting analysis.
Yep. Then in second, we've got Moi with 134.76, so quite a drop off there. And then we've got you with 132.32. That might have been the bump that you needed to get off that lower score to put you in the top of the leaderboard. Oh, it is. You got plus 12. You are now sitting at 691.54 over Cody, who didn't even play last week, who has 689.02. Wow. Cheering for a guy that didn't play because he was taking care of sick children in the hospital. You prick. And then Garbanzo's best bean stayed the same at 677.16. I know I gained a little bit. I'm pretty sure that my average score is 134. Just right there. Because I think my lowest score in my top 5 is like 130 and my highest is like 144.
Yeah, I mean, like you said,
So
if we were doing the top 10 scores like we have a couple years ago, you would be absolutely murdering it. So,
yep. This carries over into next year, right?
Playing the wrong game, Josh, unfortunately. We'll move on, Josh, to our final bit before we go. We'll just we'll do the Hunger Games. We have lost some fallen comrades. Josh, would we rather mourn our own leagues first, or should we mourn the fallen in the Hidden Oaks Redraft League first?
Hidden Oaks Redraft League, please.
Okay, he's not ready. I understand. I'm not ready either. It's really quiet intentionally. We would like to say farewell to Derek Schultz, Jeremy Kill Me This Bateman Pepperman, and Josh
dodged it.
Swift
I'm
playoff exit Mitchell. We will miss you. We wish you the best. in Valhalla. One more time.
Oh, dodge out. Nope. Got me. I'm dead.
So yeah, Derek, Jeremy, and Josh all lost their playoff games. We have a 17 playoff bracket. I had the 1 bye. That means Nikita moves on. I play Nikita, and she's the team of the 3 I least wanted to play. So Nikita, please be gentle. Willie will play Garrett. And Garrett goes from limping into the playoffs to upsetting the 2nd seed. Good for Garrett. Otherwise, Nikita and Willie, as the higher seeds, won their matchups. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we can talk more about the matchups. I don't think we will, but we could talk about them more on Saturday. Josh, now we have to mourn our own losses. You and I, between us, we lost 4 playoff games last week. And so we'll run it back one more time for ourselves. I'll go first. I bid myself farewell in the Deflate These Balls League. I bid myself farewell in the Hidden Oaks Dynasty League. Josh?
I bid myself farewell in Butt, Sweat, and Beers Dynasty.
Don't you want to bid yourself farewell in the Hidden Oaks League? Just for fun?
We already did.
I know. Sometimes I do have to add salt to the wound, Josh. I can be a prick as well. But that's it, folks. We have done it. That is our show. We're coming in at just over 30 minutes, so way more flag and hypothetical team shifting talk than I thought. But you know what? I actually enjoyed the conversation. I thought they were good questions, and we're staying topical. We're staying on top of the news. So it is what it is.
Yep. We are hard hitters and hard sitters.
Oh, Josh, I sit harder than anyone out there. Anything else you want to say besides your Go Packers?
Go Packers.
All right, we love you, everybody. See you Saturday morning.
Zesty chesty. Is that like showering in Lowry's? Is that a Brad thing?
It's whatever you want it to be, baby.